Okay. I never know how to start these. I'm a millennial. I'm right at the cusp of it, but I'm absolutely hanging on to it. So I'm always going to have that weird millennial pose at the beginning of a video. Um, I've had some thoughts, it's not new, on what might be getting in the way of how I'm applying a system of writing. And this occurred to me because um, just coaching people and really watching where's the gap within this thing we talk about, the thing we'd like to do, the thing we'd like to achieve, and actually achieving it. And I noticed that for lots of writers, and I'm including myself in this, we're applying, we're trying to apply a system of writing through some sort of kind of resistance. So it's like almost there's a block between what we know we want to apply with our signals and actually getting to it. And when I looked at the writers that I aspire to be like, or the writers that I kind of want to try and take a skill from, I thought, what have they got? I gotta be very careful asking what have they got that I haven't got. That's an absolute downward spiral. But what I've noticed is that for lots of professional writers, they have a dominance of their learning and a dominance of their time spent on really good horses that are doing it really well. And I don't mean just at a high level, but that they're educated in a system and the horse doesn't have that much resistance to the system. And then the rider has enough of those that his toolkit is based off of when I apply this aid, this happens. And if that's going to go wrong, and you're riding 10 horses a day, you figure out really quickly that it's going to go wrong, and you have 9 more to perfect it on. And for lots of us, we have one horse, and I'm really lamenting only having 1 or 2 horses to ride now, because I'm just a little duller in my approach to applying the aids. And if it's going wrong, I don't have the luxury to repeat it often enough to get the right response, because I don't want to inflict my slowness or my lack of education or my lack of finesse, lack of feel, on a horse that's developing and learning. I think that's a really dangerous space to be using a horse a little bit like a a thing to learn on. That's muddled, but you get my point. So for lots of us, the resistance to thinking about the signal and applying the signal is the muscle memory and the instinct of predominantly when I apply these aids, a bad thing happened, the wrong thing happened, not enough of the right thing happened, and I didn't have the luxury of repeating it 1,000 times to find a slightly better way. So we're working against our own instincts, against our muscle memory, against our confirmation, which is a really, I think, a key thing. And I'm not talking just about, oh, a little crooked on this side, or, actually, I think lots of us are working against just the natural shapes of our body. And this idea that there's the ultimate perfect shape or perfect length or height or length of leg, I think it's nonsense. I think we all have to work really hard within our own bodies to make sure that we're doing it consciously. That's a different video. But what it means then in the moment when I go to apply a set of signals, I have to check, is there a reason that I'm not doing that signal better? Is there a reason that I'm not giving it for longer, taking it sooner, taking it stronger, taking it lighter, applying it quicker, taking away the application quicker? Is there a hesitancy within the way I apply the signal because I've had too much of the wrong response? And I think if you've had hours and hours and hours and hours of the wrong response, because lots of us are on horses that aren't in a system, aren't developed, are what I would call rehabbing. So they're in a system of rehabbing from years and years of maybe a lack of education or not enough of an education or a specificity in one thing and not another. So that's where we build up our toolkit. We build up our toolkit in reaction to those kind of horses. And if we get a horse that is similar, we're okay. But if we get something that's different, we're kind of scuppered. Um, and this isn't an excuse. There's definitely a little bit of trying to be unforgiving, self-forgiving, whatever. Follow that thought pattern, however you like. But there has to be a way to reason through, why am I getting a lack of response or an over response, instead of that becoming finer. And I don't think it's about feel and talent. I think that's nonsense. I think it's a technical thing. And if you can intellectualize what the signal is, if you're intelligent enough to be able to reason out what a hand aid is, or a leg aid is, or a seat aid, whatever it happens to be, you should be intellectual enough and technical enough to be able to apply it. So finding a system that gets us to ground zero, that gets us to a blank slate place to start developing our horses, I think it might be slightly beyond reach, because we're always riding off theory. I'm always riding off the theory of riding, the intelligence of riding, the intellect of riding, the feel of riding. As in, I've felt what's gone wrong and I'm going to fix it, rather than how can I prevent it going wrong in the first place. And I think it just maybe might need a little bit of reframing, or a new perspective on the same training, the same teaching, the same riding, the same knowledge. So rather than trying to ride like the riders I aspire to be, riding off what my body does, what my limited knowledge does, and then how might I temper that to get a better response. Not how would I ride more specifically, theoretically, like a better rider, while constantly fighting my own body to try and make that possible. So wondering why my hand is leading off that direction, or why that elbow is not giving, or why that leg is staying stuck on, or why it's not kicking in the first place, or why my hip is tightening. So yes, the conformational things, the fitness things, but what is it in my riding that may have led my position, my brain, to prevent me from riding an application of signals? I'm aware of how wordy this is. Riding a set of signals in a really clean way, rather than just kind of theoretically chasing it and then wondering why my elbows are always back, or my position is always doing a particular thing. I don't think that's always just a lack of body awareness. I think there are lots of very logical reasons why I wouldn't want to kick in that moment, why I wouldn't want to let go of the rein in that moment. And until I can reframe, let me try and be careful about how many words I use here. Until I can figure out what my default setting is in my position, in my muscle memory, I think I have to be a little bit more allowing in how successful the system is going to be. How successfully I can move into something, try it, repeat it, and get a successful outcome. So I'm going to, for a little while, off the horse, consider what I need to have happen. Off the horse, consider what another rider might do, what a better rider might do, what a more developed horse would be like. But then while I'm riding, give myself a set of tools where I can move out of my defaults, where I can consciously go, I normally do this with my elbows. So in preparation for an exercise, I'm going to take a moment, take a break, regroup, catch my breath, plan on what I want to do, give myself probably a trigger word, seems to really help for me. Use the trigger word, ride the exercise, check it, run through that process again. Rather than getting stuck repeating endlessly an exercise, knowing and feeling that it's not going quite fully right, and risking that the bit that's going wrong is going to be the part that the horse hooks on. So, just a thought. But if you're going to have overthinking in the riding, you might as well spiral it somewhere. But maybe check. I'm certainly going to check where my thinking grows from before I start applying the system accidentally. It's a thought.